Hold up. Let's get real. Welcome to Real Talk with Ronnie. Before we begin, don't forget to subscribe to my YouTube channel and my podcast and follow me on social media at Ronnie Calra. Today we have Lindsay Metzelar, founder of the podcast and the social media account We Met at Acme. Welcome, Lindsay.
Hi, thanks for having me.
No problem.
I'm like so used to doing podcasts in a place where no one can see me. So I'm like, I'm a little nervous.
I follow you on Instagram and you're sitting on that couch with your cute little socks on and people can see you interviewing people.
Every now and then I'll do like a 2-minute clip.
Really?
Yeah.
It's just like a teaser?
Yeah, pretty much.
I decided to do YouTube because I was on TV once. So I feel like nobody cares unless they see my face.
I know what you mean.
I don't know why that makes any sense, but it's really...
Can we talk about your TV stuff or...
We can. Okay. I feel like this is going to be a dual interview because you're so used to this. So before we begin, if you follow We Met at Acme and you listen to her podcast, one of the things that she always asks as the first question is what zodiac sign her guests are.
It's true.
And I want you to sort of tell me.
You mean you want me to guess your sign or tell you about your sign?
Can you guess?
I can try if you tell me what the weather was like in New York when you were born.
That is so interesting. I have no idea, but I was born in Flushing, but I have no idea. So,
you don't know if it was like cold?
It was definitely cold.
Okay.
I just mean like I don't know if it's snow.
No. I don't need the exact
weather it was cold.
Yeah,
it was winter.
Okay. I'm getting like either Capricorn or Sag vibes. I don't know why.
Close. Mm-hmm. Close to Capricorn. I'm an Aquarius.
Oh, okay. So interesting. Mm-hmm. I love Aquarius.
Do you?
Yeah.
Why?
Well, I'm a Libra and Aquarius is also an air sign. The 3 air signs are Libra, Aquarius, and Gemini.
Okay.
And we all just like, we talk a lot and like...
We do talk a lot.
We are like sponges for information and like... We're not like the most emotional, but it depends on the rest of your chart. Do you know what time you were born and like your rising and moon sign?
4:11 p.m.
Do you have one of those apps where you can find out the rest?
No, but I will if you want me to.
I would take it out now, but it's like it's a process, but we need to know the rest of your chart.
Okay.
Yeah.
This is a follow-up interview then. Mm-hmm. Maybe I'll come on We Met at Acme.
I think you should.
Except I was telling you when you walked in.
Yeah, you're married.
I'm out of the dating game.
With a kid, you said?
With a kid.
So how did you meet this person?
I was interning at Merrill Lynch when I was in college. I went to Rutgers in New Jersey and I would commute to the city 2 times a week and I was interning at the firm and he works there and he still works there. Mm-hmm.
And how did you transition from being coworkers to more? Because people are always asking me that personally. Like, how can I...
Okay, so I'm going to be real because this is Real Talk with Ronnie. My internship was unpaid. I was in college. I was single. And so I used my time in the city as a time to find guys.
Yeah.
And go on dates. And, it was very much this, after work, everyone's going to happy hour type of environment. So I just was being a yes girl and I was just saying yes to every opportunity. Mm-hmm. So that's literally how it happened because we would go out or somebody would say, hey, we're going downstairs to grab a beer. Do you want to go? And I just wouldn't say no.
Right.
And so we ran into each other a few times in the hallway and he asked me if I was new at the firm. And then, I asked him, bold, aggressive. I asked him if he was going to have drinks because there was always like this same crew of people that would go get drinks after work.
Right.
And he was never there. And I thought, like, maybe he's not part of that crew, except everybody else I was talking to was like, oh, yeah, he's one of our friends. And I was like, how come you're never there? And he's like, oh, I play a lot of softball. And then in my head, I was like, all right, an athlete, check, like it. But, like, how much softball could you play? Like,
right.
You never get a drink. Turns out he played on 4 leagues.
Oh, wow.
And this was, like, his life at the moment.
Oh, my God.
So then I was like, all right, this is a little crazy. But eventually they won the championship, so the season was over and
That's amazing.
He came out for a drink. Yeah.
So he was what, like 23, 24?
27 and okay. I was 21.
Oh, so you have a bit of an age difference.
Yes.
I like it.
A bit of an age difference.
So you started dating at the internship, but you were still in college. So how did you do that?
I didn't know what was going to happen or how serious it was going to get, but I knew that I was interviewing at only jobs in the city. So I figured he works in the city. I would end up be like working in the city so we could continue whatever we had going on. I actually went on spring break, senior year of college, and he went on spring break with 10 of his friends. We all went to Cancun. So my last day was his first day. And so we like went on vacation together, which is always like a big thing to do in like a relationship. And then we just continued, and he ended up meeting my entire family because I invited him to my graduation party because at that point we were still seeing each other. And then I moved directly to the city as soon as I graduated. Like I didn't go home after college, not for one day. I moved directly from my apartment to an apartment in the city. And so that definitely helped. Because being in New York was convenient for everyone.
Right. When is his birthday?
September 3rd.
Oh, he's a Virgo. Mm-hmm. Very interesting.
Isn't it?
Yeah.
Most people would say that we're not necessarily very compatible.
Yeah, but I don't believe in the compatibility as much as I believe in like the personality traits. You know, I've actually seen a lot of Virgo Aquarius couples.
We're very different people, but I feel like that's what makes us like so great.
Right. He needs someone to like take him out of his shell.
Oh, yeah.
It seems like.
He's a homebody. I'm a social butterfly. Mm-hmm. He always tells me like, stop making new friends.
Yeah.
Are you single?
Yes.
That was a pause of a yes.
I'm single. I actually was in a 2-year relationship that we just broke up in January.
I'm sorry.
No, that's okay. But I'm seeing someone new. But it's so new that like nothing is established.
Right.
But yeah, so that's where I'm
Do you talk about your relationship on your podcast?
I did, but like right now I'm being very protective of this new person I'm seeing because I just like it's too new. And also I don't know. I feel like there's like a level of respect you have to have for someone. And like,
sure.
I think that this person is a very private person. My ex was a very private person too, but it was like too bad we've been dating for 2 years. You know?
That's kind of like my husband. He's very private. He's not the biggest fan of social media. He prefers to keep things private.
Right.
But he's married to me.
Right. So it's like you chose this life.
Yep, exactly.
Like you knew exactly what you were getting into.
I mean, I think the nice thing is he understands that it's a big part of my branding and my business, and he's very respectful of that. As long as I'm very respectful of like, I have to ask him if I can post a picture, and
totally,
you know, like, and I feel like that's okay.
Wait, you have to ask him if you can post a picture?
Yeah, he needs to approve it. No, of him.
Oh, of him.
I'm sorry.
I thought you meant of yourself. I'm
no,
that is like 1920s.
No, we would have to have an intervention if that was the case.
Can I curse on this podcast? Just
absolutely.
Okay, I was gonna say that's like backward shit.
No, it's totally backwards.
I saw this meme recently that killed me. It was like, if like he's gonna get mad that like I posted this like picture, then like he's gonna get blocked or something. It was way funnier than that. But it was like it killed me. I was like, that's so
oh no, he doesn't care what I post. It's just like if he's in the photo,
right?
You know, he's like, that's
fair.
Yeah, and he's also like, you know,
fair.
Not too much, not too much this, not too much that. But the flip side of that is because I was on television and I worked with a man that was single and my age,
right?
There was rumors that I was sleeping with him,
right? And
I was like, actually have a serious boyfriend at the time. Like, not true. And then people were like, well, we never see him on your social media. And I'm like, so that automatically equals me sleeping with who I work with?
Meanwhile, like people who are posting their boyfriend all the time or husband all the time on their social media are probably not in a good relationship.
So that's what my husband says.
It's
true. And a lot of it, I feel bad, but he's right.
I read recently the longer the anniversary caption, the worse it is or something.
So that is one of the things that he always says. He was like, if you're going to write paragraphs and paragraphs for people to read, why are you trying to convince them that you are in love? If you are in love, there's no convincing needed.
There's no convincing.
People just know.
Exactly.
Or your significant other knows. And he's like, I find it so strange. Like, I don't need a dedication when you're standing right next to me. Like, tell me.
Right. It makes no sense.
We're big on cards. So like,
that's nice.
Even on holidays or events that we don't exchange gifts, like we will always exchange cards because I'm like, put it down on paper.
Right.
Because sometimes you will write things that you can't say out loud or you don't say out loud. Or it's just cute. Like, you don't have time to say out loud, whatever it is.
Right. It's cute. And it's like little words of affirmation that you get to read.
Yeah. And I have like my Benny box. You know, after we got married, I threw out all my ex-boyfriend boxes. And
oh, you did?
I did.
I still have like shadily a drawer of like all the things.
I think that's totally fine. I think it's healthy. And then one day you just like, you're not going to want to look at it anymore. You might get rid of it. You might not.
I don't like look at it.
Yeah.
It's just there because I'm like, all these guys like wrote me like so many things that like I just feel, I don't know. I'm just like, it's nice to have those.
There's definitely like a few things from older relationships that I have. And like you said, like I don't look at them, but I have them. Like maybe because it was like a birthday present or something or a card. Yeah. That's fine, I think.
So this topic that someone wanted me to discuss recently, which I'm happy to discuss with you and want your opinion on, is if, like, how you know or knew that this person was the one for you. Like, you were so young, you know? Like, how do you not have doubts? And, like, is it normal to have doubts?
Totally normal to have doubts. I didn't know right away. To be fair, we dated 7 years before we got engaged. We lived together. We actually broke up for a year. We got back together. So I think...
Why'd you break up for a year?
He was not willing to commit. And I wanted to know that our future involved some sort of commitment. And he was like, I can't promise you that. And I said, then what are we doing? And it was sad because nothing actually happened for us to break up. We just kind of realized that we weren't on the same page.
How old was he at that point?
22. I was 26. 32.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. 31. And so I was like, you know, you're taking my best years. And if this isn't going to result in marriage, we need to break up. And like, I can't just take that risk and like hope one day you wake up and want to get married. Like it's a big thing. I think a lot of it had to do, like he lost a parent. He lost his mom when he was really young. So I think, you know, the fear, I'm not a therapist, but from my take on it, I think the fear of like losing an important woman in his life like played a major role in his ability to commit.
Right.
And so I put on my big girl pants and I moved out and I was like, this isn't going to work for me. And like I said, it was super sad because we didn't have any fights. Like nothing happened. Nobody cheated. We just kind of realized that like I wanted commitment and he didn't. And then he came back to me.
And how did that go?
I mean, we took time off and when we got back together, we decided to never discuss what happened during our time off.
No, of course. But like, how did he come back to you? Like, did he text you?
Oh, yeah. So there was always communication. You know, there would be times where we would want to see each other, but I would say like you know, in order for us to really move on, like we need time and space. But, you know, he would text me every now and again and I would always answer. I tried not to text him. Yeah. Because I felt like, you know, I never fell out of love. Neither did he. But, like, I really needed to do some sort of separate thing in order for myself to move on. Right. Otherwise, I would have just been hung up on him for so long. So I was like, you need to give me space. Like, you need to let me heal. And he did. But, of course, like, every now and then he would text me. And it was right around his birthday. And he was like, I really want to see you. I was like, I don't know if that's a good idea. He's like, I just need to talk to you about a few things. And so he sat me down for dinner and he was like, I've been thinking about it. I'm about to be, I forget how old he was turning, 32 or 33. And I realized like, I just want to be with you the rest of my life. And if that means getting married, then let's do it. And I was like, what?
So cute.
Excuse me?
Yeah.
And he was like, because we talked about children. He's like, I want to have kids. And I was like, so you just want to have kids with some random people? Like, I don't understand how that works. Like, you never really thought this through in your head. The other thing is we live together. And so as a woman, I thought we're moving in that progression because you date somebody, you move in together, you get engaged, you get married, you have a baby. There's an order to things if that's what you want.
Right.
And that's what I wanted. And when I remember so clearly, just like, it was like an aha moment when I said, why did you ask me to live with you if you never wanted to get married? And he's like, what does one thing have to do with the other? And I was like, what? That doesn't like, to you, it's not the next step. And he was like, no, why would we pay 2 rents in New York City if we're always together? And I was like, why would we always be together if we're not always going to be together? But I had to go to therapy after this happened, and it was like the best thing I did. And my therapist was like, why do you expect him to think how you think? He's not you. He's not a female.
Well, not only, I mean, he's not a female, but I think the point of like, you can't expect anyone to think the way that you think.
Right.
But even more importantly, what I just took out of what you said is like, I think that's a thing where guys actually don't think
they don't
necessarily because we're moving in together, we are going to get married.
Right.
Like, whereas women, I think, do think that.
It's a huge assumption.
Like, we need to do a poll question about it after this.
I think that's great.
Because I really think that it's like a confusing thing. Or it's like the opposite where guys like really do, so they like delay the move in.
Mm-hmm.
And then like guys also sometimes think like once you get married, you're going to have kids right away. So they delay that,
mm-hmm.
you know? And it's like they either are acutely aware of it or they have no idea that like it's
I think that's fair to say because he had no idea that that's what I assumed was going to happen next because we moved in together.
Right.
And I was just like blown away. How could you not think that way? But he didn't think that way. And it's not fair for him to, for me to expect that.
So you had to move out, like get your own place. And then like what, you moved back in?
Yeah. So I moved out. I lived with a friend for 2 years. And then he wanted me to move back in. And I said, I'm not willing to move back in unless we get engaged because now you've told me you're willing to get married. So let's take this slow. Like, let's just not like all of a sudden, you know, like we need to start dating each other again and like really just kind of do it over. Mm-hmm. Obviously we fell back, you know, right into where we were easily. But I did say like, at this point, there's no point in me moving back in until that happens. And if we know it's going to happen, we might as well wait.
Right.
Because the move out was like so traumatic to me. And I'm Indian and my family's a little old school. And I was like, you know, you got to talk to my parents. And, you know, because they were the ones who moved me out and consoled me when I was devastated. So I was like, you got to tell my parents that these are your intentions and ask them if I could move back in and see what they say.
Is he, so he what is his like background?
He's American Jewish. So he asked my parents and they both had very different reactions. My dad was like, oh yeah, you should. Financially, you should not be paying 2 rents. You guys should be saving for a house if you're going to get married.
Wait, he asked your parents what?
He said, I would like to propose to your daughter. I need a little bit more time to save for the ring that I think she deserves. It's going to happen this year, but her lease is up next month. Like, I think she should move back in. And
with you? Oh, sorry, with him?
Yeah.
Or move
so
home?
we had gotten a place together, and then when we broke up, I moved out.
Got it.
And he stayed. And so my dad, I had told my parents like why he was coming over, and you know they knew obviously everything, but I didn't tell them that our plan was to move back in together. Even though in my head, like I was like, let's see what my parents say, and like I'll make my decision based off what they say. And so my dad was like, well, financially, you guys should be saving if you are going to get married. And my mom was like, well, what's the rush? She was like, propose first. Show us the ring. And then you can move in. And he's like, well, I need a little bit more time. She's like, take all the time you want.
Right.
You don't need to live together.
So where did your mom expect you to live?
I was staying with a friend. I had found a new apartment with a friend.
But your lease was up in that month.
Yeah, she was like, find another roommate.
Right.
Or, you know, do what you need to do.
Right.
Renew, resign, whatever it is. Eventually we convinced them that it was a good idea to move back in. For me, it was like all about the energy of that apartment. Like I needed to change it. So I said, if I'm going to move back in, we are going to get brand new everything. Like,
but the same space, just brand new everything.
And so that was my deal. And we did. I threw everything out that we had that we originally shared. And we got brand new furniture. I painted the walls. We changed the direction of the living room. I said it needs to feel like a new apartment for me.
I love that.
Yeah.
I agree with that.
Yeah.
And you mentioned he was Jewish, just out of curiosity. Was that an issue for his parents that you weren't?
For his parents, so his mother passed away when he was younger. She was Jewish. And his father remarried a Native American Puerto Rican woman. So he was not against him marrying outside of the race.
Got it.
Or the religion. My parents, however, are immigrants, and it took them a little bit longer to warm up to the fact of me marrying outside. It wasn't necessarily that they were against it. They just kind of said to me, it's your life. You know, we're not going to be here forever. You have to deal with his family.
Right.
You're going to have kids. You have to raise them both ways. You know, if you marry within your culture, your life may be a little easier. And I was like, well, do I look like the person who's looking for an easy life?
Yeah. But also you said you were Indian, but you didn't say what your like religion.
I'm Hindu.
Hindu, okay.
So luckily for us, Hinduism is a way of life.
Yeah, of course.
And there's no necessarily, like if you wanted to be Hindu, there's no like conversion process.
I love Hindu. I mean, I love all religions.
Yeah. So there's no like conversion process. And a lot of people ask me, oh, your husband's Jewish. Did he ask you to convert? And he never asked me to convert. I mean, obviously we talked about, when we were dating, we talked about like expectations, and he was like, I would never ask somebody to do that. You believe what you believe as long as we share the same values.
Right.
And I was like, perfect. Cause that's exactly how I feel. And so we had 2 weddings, a Jewish ceremony and a Hindu ceremony.
That's so nice.
Yeah. And we have our first daughter and we call her a Hindu. We're going to teach her both. And hopefully she turns out to be a good person. Like that's the goal, right?
Yeah.
At the end of the day.
Definitely.
How about you?
With
religion, race.
I'm Jewish, but I can marry any race or religion.
Your parents
my parents would say they wouldn't care. They would care.
They would prefer.
Same
with the Indian parents.
Yeah, it's the same thing.
I mean, I feel like we both have parents who love us, so they want what's best for us.
Right.
They have their preference, but they're not going to stop us.
Yeah, exactly.
You know? Whereas like sometimes there are very strict Indian parents who have had arranged marriages.
Right. Who
like forbid certain weddings. My parents aren't like that. They weren't arranged.
Right. Do you have any friends, I'm assuming you have friends that are married. Do you have any friends that like went through something about being unsure? Just like going back to the original topic of like being unsure.
Yeah, we went off a little tangent. Definitely. I do have friends that questioned it. And then at the end of the day, like you kind of have to go with your gut.
Right.
I mean, as silly as that sounds, there's no guarantees that anything works out with anybody's relationship. I'm a little bit more of a planner, and I have friends that follow their heart a little bit more. So like it was important to me that the person had like drive and motivation to want to do well in life and make money and be able to support himself and his family. I would say some of my friends just followed their heart, and like it wasn't very important if their husbands had that drive or motivation or were settled, as my mom likes to say.
Do you think there needs to be like a mix of the head and the heart when you're choosing?
Definitely.
Or more of the head?
I think there needs to be both. Your heart has to be in it. But it's just the way that I function. I need like the security part of it. And it's not that I need, like my husband is not super rich or has a trust fund. I always joke he's the one Jewish man in finance in New York City that doesn't come from a trust fund. I found him. And his family doesn't come from money. And so, but I know him, and I know that, you know, he's motivated and he has the drive, and he would love to live a certain way and provide a certain lifestyle for his, you know, offspring.
Right.
So, you know, whereas my parents, if it was a perfect world, you know, in India, the first question they ask is, does he come from a good family? Like, they don't really care so much about the boy or the man himself. Like, the first question is, tell me about his family. And to me, it's like, it's important. However, you're not marrying the family. I mean, you are in a sense, but it's not your day to day. It's not who you wake up to and go to sleep with. But
it does have a lot to do with the person. And
totally.
Like in my last relationship, I felt like that like came to light a lot. Like your partner or you will either, like I've heard, like you usually become one parent or like you get a lot of qualities like from one of your parents. I've actually heard you become one parent and you marry the other one.
Interesting.
But regardless, I think that if there are qualities you don't like in your partner's parents, like you better strap in because your partner will probably have those qualities.
I would say yes and no. I think that that's somewhat accurate. However, like my partner is very aware of the qualities in his father, for example, that he does not want to duplicate. And he makes a conscious effort to do that. And like, I'm the same way. I'm very much my mother, but I'm, you know, I want to do things. She was very young when she got married and had her first kid. She was 24. I was 31. So she even says, like, I didn't know what to do. You have more life experience. And so I think it depends on the person. You know, they say for a guy, the way you treat your mother is the way you treat your wife. I think that's true.
Yeah, I agree with that one.
So like observing that relationship is like very important.
Do you think the way you treat your dad as a woman is how you treat your husband? Yeah,
but I also feel that with girls, they always take care of their parents. That's what they say, more so than guys do. I'm very close with my dad, so it would be accurate for me.
Right.
But yeah, I think it's accurate.
It's so easy to make excuses for the guy who doesn't treat his mom well.
Why do we do that?
Not like not treat his mom well, but like I've been with people who are just like annoyed with their mom often. You know, like, oh, mom. Yeah. Whereas the people, and like, I guess that is normal, you know, but it's like, yeah, then he's going to be annoyed with you too. You know?
Yeah, I think, you know, it's also a different relationship. It's more about, I think, the respect that you have for your mom. Like, everyone annoys everyone. Right. It's like reality. My mom annoys me. I annoy her still to this day. But it's just how you treat each other at the end of the day. So can you tell me how you got started with the podcast?
Yeah. So it was like almost 3 years ago now. I found myself single. And I was really confused about the whole thing. It was like a sudden breakup. Like I was broken up with out of nowhere. And I was the one out of my girlfriends that like everyone went to for advice. So I was like, how did this happen?
Idiot, so whoever you are.
Yeah, he's a moron. And so I needed to figure it out. And there were no dating podcasts out there at the time. And I was always talking to my friends about dating. And I always felt like that was our most interesting conversations, you know, like with my guy friends, with my girlfriends, like whenever we talked about dating, I was so intrigued, like as opposed to like talking about other people, talking shit, whatever it is. And so I invited one of my guy friends over to talk about like what had happened with my situation and with the situation he was going through. And I was like, let's record it as a podcast. And I had no idea what I was doing. I didn't think that anyone would listen. I was like, it just like would be cool to record it. And then I released it and people actually listened to it. And I was like so shocked to the point where like I had named names of people that I know. God, because I was like, no one listens to this stuff. And I got in a lot of trouble. But then since then, it's just grown into like me talking to more and more people about their dating experiences and just like the trials and tribulations of dating in Manhattan and just in general and everywhere now. So
did the name really come from you meeting a boyfriend at Acme?
No. Oh my God, not at all. But it's funny. There's this guy who's like a friend of mine now, but I did meet him at Acme after I made the podcast, but it didn't come out for like a week. So he thinks and is convinced to this day and tells girls, and it's like part of his like pickup line, like, you know, we met at Acme. He's like, that's because of me.
Oh my God.
She met me at Acme. I didn't meet anyone at Acme when I came up with the name. I just thought that it sounded cool. Like it just was easy to say. Yeah. And there was a couple that I stalked on Instagram that got married that had met at Acme.
Oh, so people do meet at Acme.
I guess so.
And I mean, I know people meet, but you know, they end up together. Who would you say thus far has provided you with, I don't know, the most insight, or who's been like your most interesting guest and why?
I think everyone's interesting in their own way. Sure. Obviously. It's usually the guests that I disagree with the most that are very interesting to me. Or guests that challenge me to like think a different way. There was a guest, I think it was episode 23, this guy, Jared Matthew Weiss. And we talked really about like the what are we conversation. And everyone always asks me like, how do I ask him what we are? Like, how do I get this to be defined?
Mm-hmm.
And I think like when I was younger, I had the same question. And then I spoke to Jared and he basically told me that like and I already knew this, but like that you don't ask that at all. And that there's a totally different way to like phrase that. And instead of like, what are we? Like, I'm so confused. Mm-hmm. It's more like, what do you need from me? And like, here's what can I expect from you? Mm-hmm. And like, here's what I need from you. Something like that. Mm-hmm. Where it's just like redefining like those conversations and like making them not as difficult to have and making them more like real, genuine, open, honest, vulnerable conversations. Because I personally would hate it if someone asks, what are we, to me? And I know many, many guys that would as well. So I think just like changing the narrative around that conversation was so interesting to me.
I think there's so much pressure around that question because a lot of times people get anxiety about it because they don't know. Like they don't have the answer. Right. And they're like, why can't we just figure it out? Like, right. I've heard that before when I've asked, what are we? It's
this gray area that's so uncomfortable, but it doesn't have to be uncomfortable. Yeah. It's just the fact that like if I tell you, like, Ronnie, I'm dating this guy for like 2.5 months, let's say, right? And you're like, oh, like what are you guys? Like, is he your boyfriend? Mm-hmm. And then I'm like, and then I internalize it, you know? Whereas like if I didn't share that with someone and they didn't ask, would it really affect me that much if I were happy, you know?
Right.
And I think like the best situations just eventually like that does happen, or like it comes up in a natural, like cute way, or like you're like at some event and you're like, what should I introduce you as?
Right.
And they're like, oh, like I'm your boyfriend. And you're like, oh, you are? Like, or they ask you, you know, which is the best situation.
Yeah. Which I feel like guys don't really do anymore.
They don't. And it's so weird because they always assume that like we just want that.
Yeah.
So they don't have to ask and it's rude.
Yeah. And ask us. We want it.
Yeah.
We like it.
And I know you didn't watch The Bachelor, but last night there was this really, really good thing that happened where this guy Peter, who's the Bachelor, his crazy mom was like, you know, saying all this stuff about the person that he chose. And then the girl that he chose said something like, wait a second, like it's not just Peter choosing me, it's also me choosing Peter. Right. And I really liked that because I feel like it gets so easily forgotten of like, what's going on here? Like it's not just the guy choosing.
Yeah,
you know?
It's totally a two-way street. Mm-hmm. That's very insightful. I love that. Tell me about how We Met at Acme is now your business. Is it your business?
Yes. I still do some social media management for brands on the side, but We Met at Acme is definitely becoming like my main thing.
What is the future of We Met at Acme?
I don't know. I think I'm going to do more like coaching when it comes to working with people because I'm already giving advice like on DM. But like you can only give so much free advice and like I only have so much time to do that. So maybe turning it into some kind of like coaching thing. And then also just figuring out more and more ways that I can reach more people and help them feel comfortable talking about dating.
Yeah, that's amazing. And hopefully one day you get married, if that's what you want. Is We Met at Acme going to evolve with the way that your life evolves? Because that's what I imagine would happen. But
yeah, that's a great question. I hope it does because I think, you know, as We Met at Acme grows, our audience and listeners grow as well, and they're going to get married and they're going to do things. And I think like it's only normal if I start to open up about like the process, let's say, of being engaged or like of being married or of keeping a marriage alive and things like that, while still featuring guests who might be in different stages.
Yeah, I love that. And I think that's natural. I feel like an organic growth of a business and somebody's life is the best way to keep your following going because that's real.
Yeah, you have to be real. You can't like pretend. It's so funny. My sister is a blogger and she had this like she had this like healthy food like workout blog for so long and then she had a baby and now it's just like a mommy blog and
just her life. Happens, yeah, you know? Yeah, it's literally her life. That's kind of what happened with me. Yeah, and my Instagram went from like real estate and vacations to my daughter. Yeah, but it's just what my life consists of these days. So one question I ask all my guests is, if you weren't doing what you're doing now, what would you be doing? So if you weren't podcasting and talking about dating life every day, what would you be doing?
I think I would either want to be a therapist or a lawyer.
Ooh.
Yeah.
Two very different things.
Very different.
Would you be like a marriage counselor?
Yeah, something like that.
And a divorce attorney?
No, but that's a good one. I love like crimes. Just like criminal shit.
SVU.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Okay. We've gotten that one before. Yeah. It's been somebody that I really like also. That's funny.
But it's hard. I mean, it's so much more complicated than like, I love crime. Like, I love SVU. I want to be a lawyer. Like, it's like you also will have to represent people who aren't so great. Yes. So I'm happy where I'm at now.
Amazing. So thank you so much for coming on Real Talk with Ronnie. Don't forget to subscribe to the YouTube channel and the podcast. Follow me on social media at Ronnie Calra. And follow Lindsay at We Met at Acme. Thank you.